Imagine stumbling through a dusty grove in ancient Greece, the sun scorching your back figs, dropping like overripe insults from gnarled trees. It's 3rd century BCE Athens and you're trailing Chrysippus, the Stoic philosopher, who's about to make history by laughing himself into a grave. The air hums with cicadas, their drone a mocking chorus to the absurdity unfolding. There's his donkey munching on a pile of figs sweet sticky, and definitely not on the Stoic menu. Chrysippus, all beard and self-control, spots the beast gobbling his fruit and doesn't scold. No, he cackles, then hollers for his servant to fetch wine. Wine for a donkey. You blink, wondering if this guy's lost it. The servant, probably used to his master's quirk, sloshes a jug of cheap red over the figs, and the donkey laps it up, swaying like it's auditioning for a Hellenistic happy hour. You're caught in the scene, the tang of fermenting fruit stinging your nose, the donkey's clumsy chomping echoing like a bad comedian's punchline. Chrysippus doubles over, his laughter sharp as a blade slicing through the grove's haze. This is no polite chuckle, it's a full-body convulsion, his face red as the wine eyes streaming. You almost laugh too, but there's an edge to it, a prick of dread. This is the guy who preaches restraint, yet here he is, undone by a drunk donkey. The irony's thicker than the dust on your sandals. Ancient Greeks thought laughter could kill Diogenes Laertius. Later, scribbled that excessive mirth could stop a heart, and you're seeing it live. The donkey brays a slurred protest, and Chrysippus wheezes harder, clutching his chest like it's a punchline he can't escape. Picture the grove now, figs scattered like tiny corpses, wine pooling in the dirt, the donkey staggering as if it knows it's the star of this grim comedy. You step closer, heart pounding as Chrysippus' laughter turns ragged, a choking gasp. His stoic calm gone, his philosophy of mastering emotions. A cruel joke. You can't help but smirk, imagine tweeting this. Philosopher laughs himself to death over drunk donkey. Such epic fail. The Hellenistic world buzzes around you, merchants haggling in the distance, a temple's incense drifting, but this moment feels like a cosmic prank. The gods must be snickering on Olympus scripting this end, for a man who dared lecture on control. You wince as his laughter spikes a sound like shattering pottery, and you know this isn't just funny, it's fatal. What's wilder? This wasn't a one-off. Ancient texts hint at others who laughed their way to the underworld as if joy itself could betray you. You stand there, the grove's heat pressing down, and wonder is laughter a gift, or a trap Chrysippus doesn't answer. He's too busy cackling his way to eternity, the donkey blinking dumbly as the philosopher's legs buckle. You're left with the scene wine figs and a man laughing himself out of existence. Like, Cher, tell us your weirdest history fact. But for now, let's step from the grove to the moment it all goes dark. You're still in that sun-baked grove, the air thick with fig rot and wine's sour bite, but now Chrysippus is on the ground, his laughter a dying echo. It's 279 BCE, and the Stoic master's face is a mask of red veins bulging like they're staging their own rebellion. You crouch closer, the dirt gritty under your knees, and catch the wheeze in his breath, each chuckle a step toward Hades. The donkey, oblivious, munches another fig, its drunken sway a mocking mirror to the philosopher's collapse. You'd laugh, but the scene's too grim, like a TikTok prank on Fatally Viral. Diogenes Laertius, that gossip of antiquity, will later write that Chrysippus's heart gave out from sheer mirth a medical oddity in a world where doctors warned against laughing too hard. Imagine that a prescription to chill or you're done. The grove pulses with life ants swarm a spilled wine puddle. A breeze carries distant agora chatter, but Chrysippus is fading his laughter now, a gurgling rasp. You can almost hear his stoic lectures master your passions, or they master you. Yeah, right. His own joke, that wine-soaked donkey, has mastered him in the worst way. You glance at the servant frozen jug still in hand, probably wondering if he's next on the god's hit list. The irony stings sharper than the wine's fumes. A man who taught emotional control undone by a giggle fit. You can't help but think of modern wellness gurus preaching mindfulness while tripping over their own egos. Same vibe, different toga. Ancient Greeks had theories about this. Laughter, they said, could strain the heart, disrupt breathing, or invite divine wrath. Picture a healer in Athens, all serious beard and papyrus scrolls warning that too much joy could kill you. You see it now, Chrysippus' chest heaves his eyes wild as if the gods themselves are tickling him to death. The donkey brays again a slurred taunt and you wince at the sound, a mix of comedy and horror like a sitcom laugh track in a slasher flick. You're immersed, the grove's heat wrapping you like a shroud, the philosopher's gasps sinking with your own quickening pulse. This isn't just a death, it's a warning. Laugh too hard and you're tempting fate. Step back and the scene widens. The Hellenistic world keeps spinning, philosophers debating in marble halls oblivious to their colleagues' end. You wonder what they'll say when word spreads a cautionary tale or just another tavern story. The donkey stumbles off, leaving a trail of crushed figs, and you're left with Chrysippus' final chuckle, a sound that lingers like a ghost. It's absurd, sure, but there's a chill in it, a reminder that even joy can betray you. Ancient texts mention others who laughed their last, Zeuxis, a painter, cackling at his own art until he choked. You shake your head, half smirking. Life's a punchline, and sometimes it hits too hard. Tell us your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this grove to a symposium where laughter strikes again. You're sprawled on a couch in a Hellenistic symposium, 3rd century BCE Athens, the air thick with wine fumes and smug philosophy. The room's a haze of flickering lamps, their oily smoke curling like a bad omen. Bearded scholars trade barbs, their voices slurred goblets sloshing red over calloused hands. One philosopher, let's call him Philemon, lean and sharp as a stylus, lobs a joke about Zeno's paradoxes, something about a tortoise outrunning fate. The crowd roars, but one guest, a portly rhetorician, laughs too hard, his guffaws booming like a war drum. You wince, the sound grating as his face flushes, purple wine dribbling down his chin. This isn't just merriment, it's a death knell dressed in mirth. The symposium's chaos wraps you grape-sweet air, sweat-soaked tunics, the clink of pottery as another jug's uncorked. Philemon's jest lands like a viral meme and the rhetorician's laughter spikes a choking wheezing fit that silences the room. You lean closer, heart thudding as his eyes bulge wild with joy and panic. Ancient Greeks knew laughter could kill Diogenes, Laertius noted. It could seize the heart, stop the breath like a punch you didn't see coming. You smell the sour wine on his breath, see his hands claw the air, and think this is Chrysippus all over again, another fool undone by a punchline. The irony's rich as the symposium's vintage. These men debate life's meaning, yet here's one laughing his way to Hades. Picture it, the lamps sputter, casting shadows like grinning spectres as the rhetorician collapses his laughter a ragged gasp. You're caught in the moment, the room's heat pressing like a curse. Someone shouts for a healer, but it's too late. His chest heaves once, then stills. You smirk despite the chill. Imagine this on X, philosopher's roast goes fatal. #ancient fail. The others freeze their own chuckles, dying as if the gods just whispered you're next. Hellenistic Athens thrived on wit symposiums with their comedy clubs, where words cut sharper than swords. But this is wit as a weapon, a jest that hits like a boulder. You glance at Philemon, his smug grin fading, and wonder if he feels the weight of his own quip. The scene's a grim carnival, spilled wine pools like blood. A servant scrambles to mop it, and the air hums with uneasy murmurs. You can't shake the thought laughter's a trap, a joy that betrays. Ancient texts whisper of others felled by mirth, their hearts bursting under glee's pressure. You stand sandals sticking to the sticky floor and feel the symposium's pulse falter. The gods must love this chuckling from Olympus as another mortal oversteps. Like Cher, tell us your darkest history fact. But for now, let's leave this wine-soaked hall and step into a painter's studio where laughter strikes again. You're in Zeuxis' studio, 5th century BCE Athens, where paint fumes sting your nose and canvases lean like silent witnesses. The artist Zeuxis, famed for fooling birds with painted grapes, stands before his latest work, a caricature of an old woman, her face a grotesque mask of wrinkles and mischief. He steps back, brush dripping ochre, and laughs a deep rolling cackle that shakes his frame. You squint at the canvas, its exaggerated lines almost alive, and feel a chuckle bubble up. But Zeuxis' laughter doesn't stop. It grows a wild, unstoppable force, his paint-stained hands trembling. You freeze the air, heavy with turpentine, and dread as his mirth turns manic, a sound like breaking glass. The studio's a cluttered shrine to art clay, pots of pigment, half-sketched figures on walls, sunlight slicing through a cracked shutter. Zeuxis's laughter echoes sharp and unhinged as he points at the hag's twisted grin on the canvas. You're pulled in the image's absurdity, tickling your ribs, but there's a hitch. His face is too red, his breath's too shallow. Ancient sources like Festus claim Zeuxis laughed himself to death, his heart or lungs giving out under the strain. You see it now, his knees buckle, paintbrush clattering as he clutches his chest. The irony's brutal, an artist killed by his own creation like a modern influencer buried by their viral post. You smirk, but it's uneasy. This is no laughing matter. Imagine the scene, the canvas looms, its hag seeming to sneer back as Zeuxis gasps his laughter a choking wheeze. You smell the linseed oil, feel the studio's dust grit your throat, and hear the distant agoras hum, oblivious to this private tragedy. Greeks believed art held power. Zeuxis once painted grapes so real birds pecked at them. But this is art as a curse, a painted jest that kills its maker. You step closer, heart racing as Zeuxis collapses his final chuckle, a faint rasp. Sarcasm creeps in Nisjob Zeuxis. Painted your way to the underworld. The studio feels haunted now, the hag's eyes glinting as if she planned this all along. You're left with the wreckage, spilled paint, a toppled easel, Zeuxis silent on the floor. The Hellenistic world keeps painting, arguing, living, but here's a man undone by his own genius. Laughter's a blade, you realise, sharp, unpredictable, cutting deepest when you least expect. Other tales echo this philosopher's poets, all felled by joy's excess. You shake your head, half laughing yourself. Life's a canvas, and sometimes the brushstrokes kill. Drop your weirdest history fact below, and let's move from this studio to an agora where laughter claims another. You're elbowing through the Athenian agora 3rd century BCE, where dust swirls like a bad mood and the air reeks of fish olives and sweat. Merchants hawk wares, their shouts a chaotic symphony, while a street performer, a juggler with a lopsided grin, mimics a pompous philosopher to the crowd's delight. His antics, all exaggerated gestures and mocking quips, land like a viral skit, and one onlooker, a wiry tanner, laughs so hard his bellows drown the market's din. You pause, sandals grinding grit, as his guffaws turn wild, a hacking roar that draws stares. His face reddens, eyes streaming, and you feel a chill. This isn't just funny, it's fatal. The crowd's giggles falter, sensing the shift as the tanner sways, clutching his chest. The agora pulses around you, baskets of figs topple, a stray dog snatches bread, the performer's juggling pins clatter like bones. The tanner's laughter spikes a raw choking sound, and you're pulled in heart-pounding as his knees buckle. Ancient Greeks knew joy could kill texts like Diogenes Laertius's warn of laughter, seizing hearts, especially in a world where medicine was more guesswork than science. You smell the tanner's sweat, sour as his trade, and see his hands flail, grasping at air. This is no noble philosopher like Chrysippus. This is a commoner undone by a cheap laugh in a crowded square. You smirk despite the dread. Imagine this trending tanner LOLs to death at juggler. Athens after dark. Picture it. The performer freezes pins mid-air as the tanner collapses, his laughter a dying wheeze. The crowd gasps, some scattering, others gawking like it's twisted play. You're caught in the scene, the agora's heat pressing like a vice dust coating your throat. The Greeks loved their markets, hubs of gossip, trade and spectacle, but this one's turned grim, a stage for life's cruelest punchline. The tanner's mirth, sparked by a mimic's jest, betrays him his heart or lungs giving out under joy's weight. Sarcasm creeps in. Nice job, buddy. Laughed your way out of the agora. You glance at the juggler, his grin gone, probably wondering if his next gig's cursed. The market resumes its chaos. Vendors shout as cartwheel creaks, but the tanner's still form lingers like a shadow. You think of others felled by laughter, their stories whispered in taverns. Philosophers, artists, now a nobody tanner. Laughter's a social glue here, binding crowds, but also a blade cutting without warning. You shake your head, half chuckling. Life's a performance, and sometimes the audience doesn't make it. Drop your weirdest history fact below and let's slip from this dusty square to a temple where laughter's curse takes a darker turn. You step into a temple's shadow, 3rd century BCE Athens, where incense chokes the air and marble gleams under torchlight. The altar hums with offerings, olives, wine, a lamb's blood still fresh, while priests mutter prayers to appease fickle gods. A worshipper, gaunt and wide-eyed, recounts a tale. A man laughed at a sacred rite, mocking a priest's fumbled chant, only to collapse his chuckles, turning to gasps. You feel the temple's chill stone cold underfoot, as whispers spread of laughter as a divine curse. The Greeks believed gods wielded joy like a weapon. Homer's tales hint at deities sparking mirth to punish hubris, your immersed heart thumping as the worshipper's story paints a scene too vivid, too eerie. The temple's gloom wraps you flickering flames cast grinning shadows, the air heavy with myrrh and dread. The cursed man's laughter, they say, rang like a bell, then cracked at his body, crumpling before the altar. You picture it. His face, twisting eyes bulging as if Apollo himself squeezed his lungs. Ancient texts like those of Diogenes Laertius note laughter's lethal edge, a divine jab at mortals who dare mock the sacred. You smell the incense thick as guilt and hear the priest's low chants, their eyes darting as if expecting another fall. This isn't just a story, it's a warning etched in the temple's silence. You smirk, but it's uneasy. Imagine this as a divine TikTok ban, laugh at the gods get smited. Picture the scene. The altar looms, bloodstains dark as the worshipper's tale spreads fear. You're drawn in the temple's weight, pressing your chest as if the gods watch you now. The Greeks saw laughter as a double-edged blade, joy in the agora doom in the sanctuary. This man's crime, mocking a rite, is chuckles and insult to divine order. The gods ever petty answered with a fatal jest. You think of Chrysippus Zeuxis, the tanner, all laughing their last as if mirth's a trap set on Olympus. Sarcasm bites nice move mortal. Giggle at a god and you're toast. The temple feels alive, its shadows whispering of other cursed laughers, their stories lost but their dread lingering. You step back, the incense stinging your eyes, and feel the weight of belief. Hellenistic Athens thrived on faith temples, were its pulse where mortals bargained with gods. But laughter here, a risk of defiance, a spark for divine wrath. You half laugh nervous. Life's a ritual, and sometimes the gods don't clap back, they strike. Share your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this temple to a symposium where stoic irony meets its end. You're back in a Hellenistic symposium, 3rd century BCE Athens, where wine flows like hubris and philosophers strut their wisdom like peacocks. The air's thick with olive oil, smoke, sweat and smugness as Chrysippus the stoic poster boy holds court. His beard's a tangle, his voice sharp, preaching control over passions, anger, fear, joy. Yet here he is, days from his fatal giggle, chuckling at a crude jest about Diogenes' barrel life. You lean in the room's heat, pressing your skin as his laughter grows a tremor in his stoic facade. The irony's richer than the wine. This guy's about to prove his own philosophy wrong, undone by a donkey and a bad joke. You smirk, sensing the gods snicker. The symposium's a riot. Goblets clink, a lyre hums, some drunkard spills figs on the floor. Chrysippus' chuckle spikes, his face flushing as he recounts his donkey's fig feast, the wine he ordered for it. You smell the sour grapes, hear the crowd's nervous laughter, and feel a prickle of dread. This is the man who wrote tomes on mastering emotions, yet his own mirth's a runaway chariot. Diogenes Laertius later noted laughter could crush a heart, and you see it brewing. Chrysippus' eyes glint, his breath hitches like he's chasing a punchline to Hades. You think this is peak irony, like a life coach tweeting "stay calm" mid-meltdown. Picture it, the lamps flicker, casting shadows like mocking grins as Chrysippus' laughter turns raw. A wheezing edge cutting the din. You're immersed, the sticky floor gripping your sandals as his hand clutches his chest. Stoic calm crumbling like cheap clay. The crowd hushes, sensing doom, but he waves them off, still chuckling as if defiance will save him. You can't help the sarcasm, nice job, stoic. Preach restraint, die laughing. Hellenistic Athens thrives on these debates. Symposiums are their TED Talks where ideas clash and egos bleed. But this This is philosophy failing live a lesson in human frailty. You glance at the other scholars, their faces pale, probably rethinking their own quips. The scene lingers, spilled wine, scattered figs, Chrysippus's laughter fading like a dying fire. You feel the weight of his legacy, stoicism's call to control betrayed by a moment's joy. Others fell. This way ancient texts whisper their hearts bursting under mirth's pressure. You half laugh nervous as the symposium's buzz resumes, oblivious to the lesson. Life's a debate, and sometimes the punchline kills. Drop your darkest history fact below and let's move from this chaotic hall to a healer's grim warning. You're in a dim Athenian healer's den, 3rd century BCE, where the air reeks of herbs and despair. Shelves sag with clay jars, thyme, opium, dried lizard, while a grizzled physician beard, streaked with ash, probes a patient's pulse. He mutters about laughter, how it can strangle the heart, his voice low as if the gods might overhear. You'll hear post-Chrysippus the Stoic, who laughed himself dead, and the healers ranting about mirth's dangers. His patient, a merchant, red-faced from a recent agora chuckle, scoffs, dismissing the warning like a bad horoscope. You feel the room's chill papyrus scrolls crackling underfoot and sense doom lurking in his defiance. The den's a grim stage flickering oil lamps, a table stained with mysterious goo, the physician's hands knotted from years of futile cures. He cites ancient wisdom, Hippocratic texts warning that excessive laughter disrupts the body's humours, spiking the pulse until it snaps. You smell the acrid herbs, hear the merchant's smug snort, and see his pulse jump under the healer's fingers. This is no modern ER, it's a guesswork clinic where leeches are high-tech. You're drawn in heart thumping as the physician recounts Chrysippus's end-donkey wine-fatal giggles. The merchant laughs again, a barking sound, and you wince, thinking, buddy, you're tempting fate like it's a dare. Picture it, the healer's eyes narrow, his voice sharp, urging restraint, as the merchant mocks him, boasting of his marketplace jests. You're immersed the den's shadows, dancing like warnings, as his laughter grows a reckless echo of Chrysippus's fall. Ancient Greeks feared joy's excess texts, like Diogenes Laertius's note, it could stop breath-burst vessels. You see it now, the merchant's face flushes, his chuckles ragged, as the healer snaps laugh less live more. Sarcasm bites great plan pal, giggle your way to the grave. The den feels alive, its air thick with the weight of ignored wisdom as if Hades waits to collect. The scene fades, the merchant stumbles out, still chuckling while the healer shakes his head, muttering of doomed fools. You think of others, Zeuxis, the tanner, all laughing their last blind to warnings. Hellenistic Athens buzzed with life, but its healers knew death hid in joy's excess. You smirk, half nervous. Life's a diagnosis, and sometimes the cure's a myth. Share your creepiest history fact below, and let's shift from this grim den to a donkey's absurd revenge. You're not human now, you're the donkey plodding through a dusty Athenian grove. 3rd century BCE, your hooves crunching figs like they're the dreams of philosophers. The air's thick with fermenting fruit, sweet and sour as you munch a pile of purloined figs, their juice dripping down your bristly chin. Chrysippus, that bearded stoic, looms nearby, his laughter sharp as a whip watching you. He's just ordered wine poured over your feast wine. You lap it up, the tangy burn making your head swim. Your legs wobble like a sailor's on shore leave. You bray a slurred protest and he laughs harder, a wheezing cackle that feels like a challenge. You're no fool. This is your moment, the beast stealing the show, and you're about to make history without even trying. The grove hums around you, cicadas mock a breeze stirs fig leaves, and the wine's fumes sting your nostrils. Chrysippus doubles over his laughter, a wild choking roar, and you sway drunk on his offering, your hooves slipping in the sticky dirt. You're the punchline, but he's the one falling apart, his face, red eyes streaming as if you planned this. Ancient Greeks per Diogenes Laertius knew laughter could kill a heartstopper in a world of flimsy medicine. You don't know that of course you're a donkey, not a scholar, but you feel the shift, the air heavy with his gasps. Sarcasm creeps in, Nice move philosopher. Feed me wine and I'll bury you with a bray. You're the star of this grim comedy, an unwitting avenger. Picture it, figs scatter like tiny trophies, wine pools like spilled pride, and Chrysippus collapses his laughter a fading rasp. You blink tail flicking as his servant gapes, jug still in hand. You're just a beast, but you've outlasted a stoic, his philosophy of control crushed under your clumsy hooves. The grove feels alive, the gods chuckling on Olympus. This is their kind of prank, a donkey toppling a sage. You bray again, loud and sloppy, like a viral post no one saw coming. Drunk donkey owns philosopher. Hellenistic win. Hellenistic Athens keeps moving merchants' temples debates, but you stand there munching another fig, the accidental hero of a cosmic joke. You stumble off the grove's dust swirling, leaving Chrysippus silent. Humans think they rule, but you've just proved nature doesn't care for their togas or their tomes. Others laughed their last, the stories whisper, painters, tanners, but you're the beast who sparked a legend. You shake your mane half drunk and plod away. Life's a fig pile, and sometimes you eat the philosopher. Drop your weirdest history fact below, and let's shift from this grove to a festival where laughter claims another. You're swept into an Athenian festival, 3rd century BCE, where torchlight dances and the air buzzes with wine-roasted meat and revelry. The streets thrum with music lyres, twang, drums pound, as a comic poet takes the makeshift stage, his verses roasting a pompous general with brutal wit. The crowd howls, and one man, a burly potter, laughs loudest, his bellows shaking the night. You're caught in the crush, the heat of bodies pressing the scent of charred lamb and spilled wine thick. His laughter's a thunderclap, but it turns ragged, a choking wheeze, and you feel a prickle of dread. His face purples eyes wide as he stumbles, joy turning to doom in a heartbeat. The festival's a chaotic blur. Torches spit sparks, dance a spin, a stray goat bleats in panic. The potter's laughter spikes raw and desperate. As he clutches his side, the crowd's cheers fading into gasps. You're pulled in heart, racing the cobblestones slick underfoot. Ancient Greeks knew mirth could kill Diogenes Laertius. Scribbled about laughter-stopping hearts, a fact as real as the agora's dust. You smell the potter's sweat, see his hands flail, and know he's done. This isn't Chrysippus' highbrow giggle. It's raw communal joy gone wrong, a festival turned funeral. You smirk despite the chill. Imagine this trending. Potter laughs to death at poet's roast. Athens after hours. Picture it, the poet pauses his satire, stalling as the potter collapses his laughter, a dying echo. You're immersed. The torchlight flickering like a warning, the crowd parting like a sea. The Greeks loved their festivals, Dionysian revels where wine and wit flowed free, but this one soured, a reminder that joy's a tightrope. The potter's fall mirrors others, Zeuxis the tanner, all caught by laughter's cruel hook. Sarcasm bites, great job, pal. Laugh so hard you broke the party. The night hums on flutes trilling, but the potter's still a cautionary tale under the stars. You think of the gods chuckling in the dark, their humour sharper than any poet's. The scene lingers, spilled wine stains, the stone's torches gutter, and the crowd's laughter turns nervous. You feel the festival's pulse, its joy tainted by death's shadow. Hellenistic Athens lived for these moments, communal highs where mortals forgot their fragility. But laughter's a blade cutting deepest in the revelry. You shake your head, half chuckling. Life's a stage, and sometimes the audience doesn't make it. Share your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this torchlit chaos to another tale of laughter's deadly grip. You're wedged in a Hellenistic gathering 3rd century BCE Athens, where the air's thick with wine sweat and self-important chatter. A poet, wiry and sharp-eyed, stands in a torchlit courtyard, spitting verses that slice through the crowd like a blade. His latest satire, a biting jab at a pompous magistrate's love for ostentatious robes, lands like a viral roast, and the crowd erupts. One listener, a plump olive merchant, laughs loudest, his guffaws booming over the clink of goblets. You're caught in the crush, the tang of spilled wine stinging your nose as his laughter turns wild, a choking roar that silences the murmurs. His face flushes, crimson eyes streaming, and you feel a prickle of dread. This isn't just a chuckle, it's a one-way ticket to Hades. The courtyard pulses, torches spit embers, a lyre twangs off key, and the poet's words linger like smoke. The merchant's laughter spikes raw and ragged as he clutches his chest, swaying like a ship in a storm. You're pulled in heart, thumping the cobblestones gritty underfoot. ancient Greeks knew mirth could kill Diogenes. Laertius scribbled about laughter, stopping hearts, a grim fact in a world of shaky medicine. You smell a merchant's olive-oiled beard, see his hands flail and know he's done. This isn't Chrysippus's highbrow giggle, it's a commoner's joy sparked by a poet's barb turning fatal. You smirk despite the chill picture this on ex-merchant LOLs to death at magistrate roast. Poetry kills. Imagine it, the poet pauses, his smirk fading as the merchant collapses his laughter, a dying wheeze. The crowd gasps, some backing away, others gawking like it's a twisted play. You're immersed, the torchlight flickering like a warning, the air heavy with wine and panic. Hellenistic Athens loved its poets, bards, who could topple egos with a verse, but this one's verse has toppled a life. The merchant's fall echoes other Zeuxis the tanner, all caught by laughter's cruel hook. Sarcasm bites nice, one poet. Your rhyme's a literal killer. The gods must be chuckling, scripting this end for a man who just wanted a laugh. You glance at the poet, his eyes wide, probably rethinking his next gig. The scene lingers, spilled wine stains. The stones torches gutter, and the crowd's cheers turn nervous. You feel the courtyard's pulse, its joy soured by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark here, lighting up gatherings but burning out lives. You shake your head, half chuckling. Life's a stage, and sometimes the punchline's final. Drop your creepiest history fact below, and let's slip from this courtyard to a dock where a sailor's tale turns deadly. You're on an Athenian dock 3rd century BCE, where the air's salty with sea spray and the reek of fish guts. Ships creak, ropes groan, and a grizzled sailor skin like weathered leather spins a bawdy tale about a cyclops and a nymph that has the dockhands howling. His yarn, crude, absurd, and peppered with winks, lands like a tavern stand-up set, and one listener, a lanky netmender, laughs so hard he doubles over his cackles, echoing over the waves. You're caught in the scene, the briny air stinging your eyes as his laughter turns raw. A hacking wheeze that cuts through the gull's cries. His face purples, hands clutching his sides, and you feel a knot of dread. This isn't just a laugh, it's a death knell. The dock's a gritty stage. Nets tangle underfoot, barrels of salted fish teeter, and the sailor's tale keeps rolling, oblivious to the chaos. The netmender's laughter spikes a choking sound as he stumbles against a crate, eyes wild with joy and panic. You're pulled in heart, racing the sea's rhythm pounding in your ears. Ancient texts like Diogenes Laertius's worn laughter could crush a heart, a fact as real as the salt on your lips. You smell the netmender's sweat, see his trembling hands, and know he's done. This is no philosopher's end. It's a working man sparked by a sailor's dirty joke. You smirk uneasy. Imagine this trending dockhand laughs to death at Cyclops' gag. Sea stories slay. Picture it. The sailor pauses, his grin faltering as the netmender collapses, his laughter a fading rasp. The dockhands freeze, their chuckles dying as waves lap the pier like a grim applause. You're immersed, the dock's chill seeping into your bones, the horizon vast and uncaring. Hellenistic ports were alive with stories, sailors' tales, binding crews, but this one's turned deadlier, a yarn that unravel a life. The netmender's fall mirrors others, Chrysippus the merchant, all snared by mirth's trap. Sarcasm bites great tale sailor. You've got a body count now. The gods must love this chuckling as another mortal oversteps. You glance at the sailor, his eyes darting, probably wondering if his next story's cursed. The scene fades. Gulls screech, ropes creak, and the dockhands mutter their joy tainted. You feel the port's pulse, its lifeblood of trade and tales now shadowed by death. Laughter's a spark, but on these docks it's a flame that burns out fast. You shake your head, half laughing. Life's a story, and sometimes the ending's too sharp. Share your darkest history fact below, and let's move from this salty dock to another tale of laughter's deadly grip. You're standing in a temple's gloom, 3rd century BCE Athens, where incense swirls like whispered secrets and marble gleams under flickering torchlight. A gaunt oracle eyes, glassy, mutters a prophecy to a gathered crowd. A sandal maker will die beneath a falling star. The sandal maker, a wiry man with calloused hands, scoffs his laughter, sharp and mocking, echoing off the stone walls. You're caught in the scene, the air heavy with myrrh and unease as his chuckles grow wild, a braying roar that drowns the oracle's chant. His face flushes, eyes streaming, and you feel a chill. This isn't just defiance, it's a fatal misstep. The temple's silence tightens, as if the gods themselves are leaning in. The sanctuary hums with tension. A brazier spits embers, priests shuffle nervously, and the oracle's voice falters. The sandal maker's laughter spikes a choking wheeze as he clutches his throat, swaying like a reed in a storm. You're pulled in heart, pounding the stone floor cold underfoot. Ancient Greeks knew laughter could kill Diogenes Laertius. Noted it could seize the heart, a grim truth in a world of omens and shaky medicine. You smell the incense thick as guilt and see his hands flail, grasping at air. This isn't Chrysippus' highbrow giggle, it's a commoner's mockery spitting in fate's face. You smirk uneasy, picture this trending sandal maker laughs at prophecy drops dead. Shh, oracle owned. Imagine it, the oracle stares her eyes like dark pools as the sandal maker collapses his laughter a dying rasp. The crowd gasps, some retreating, others frozen as if Apollo's wrath lingers in the smoke. You're immersed, the temple's shadows dancing like warnings, the air heavy with dread. Hellenistic Athens was steeped in oracles. Prophecies shaped lives from kings to cobblers, but this one's turned deadly, a divine jest gone wrong. His fall echoes other Zeuxis the tanner, all snared by mirth's trap. Sarcasm bites nice one pal. Mock the gods and their RSVP with death. The gods must be chuckling their humour sharper than any mortal's wit. You glance at the oracle, her lips twitching as if she knew this was coming. The scene lingers, embers fade, incense curls, and the crowd's whispers turn to prayers. You feel the temple's pulse, its sanctity tainted by a mortal's hubris. Laughter's a spark here, but it burns out fast in sacred spaces. You shake your head half laughing. Life's a prophecy, and sometimes you're the punchline. Drop your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this shadow temple to a theatre where laughter claims another. You're packed into a Hellenistic theatre, 3rd century BCE Athens, where the stone benches vibrate with the crowd's buzz and the air smells of dust and roasted nuts. An actor, all exaggerated gestures and painted masks, struts across the stage, his comedy a slapstick take on a greedy merchant hitting like a viral skit. The crowd roars, but one spectator, a stout weaver, laughs hardest. His guffaws booming over the orchestra's flutes. You're caught in the throng, the heat of bodies pressing as his laughter turns wild, a hacking wheeze that cuts through the cheers. His face purples, hands clutching his sides, and you feel a knot of dread. This isn't just a laugh, it's a curtain call to the underworld. The theatre's alive, torches flare. The actor's mask grins grotesquely, and a stray sandal skids across the stage. The weaver's laughter spikes raw and desperate as he slumps against his neighbour, eyes wide with joy and panic. You're pulled in heart, racing the stone bench rough under your palms. Ancient texts like Diogenes Laertius's worn laughter could crush a heart a fact as real as the dust in your throat. You smell the weaver's sweat, see his trembling hands, and know he's done. This is no philosopher's end. It's a working man sparked by a comedic jab. You smirk despite the chill, imagine this on X. Weaver laughs to death at theatre gag. #comedy kills. Picture it, the actor freezes, his mask's grin eerie as the weaver collapses, his laughter a fading echo. The crowd hushes, their chuckles dying as the stage's energy sours. You're immersed, the torchlight flickering like a warning, the air thick with panic. Hellenistic theatres where Athens' pulse comedies mocked the mighty uniting crowds, but this one's turned grim, a performance turned funeral. The weaver's fall mirrors others, Chrysippus, the sandal maker, all caught by mirth's hook. Sarcasm by its great show actor. Your punchline's a body count. The gods must love this chuckling as another mortal oversteps. You glance at the actor, his mask hiding his shock, probably rethinking his next line. The scene fades. Torches gutter, the crowd murmurs and the flutes falter. You feel the theatre's pulse, its joy tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark, but in this stone amphitheatre it's a flame that burns out fast. You shake your head, half chuckling. Life's a performance, and sometimes the audience doesn't make it. Share your darkest history fact below, and let's move from this theatre to another tale of laughter's deadly grip. You're squeezed into a Hellenistic lecture hall, 3rd century BCE Athens, where the air's thick with dust wine and intellectual swagger. Torches sputter, casting shadows on marble, as a philosopher all beard and bravado skewers a rival's paradox. Something about motion being an illusion. Zeno's nonsense. His biting quip, sharp as a dagger, lands like a viral diss track and the crowd roars. One listener, a stooped scribe, laughs loudest, his cackle echoing over the clink of goblets. You're caught in the throng? The scent of ink and sweat stinging your nose as his laughter turns wild, a hacking wheeze that silences the debate. His face flushes, purple eyes streaming, and you feel a prickle of dread. This isn't just wit, it's a death sentence. The hall pulses with chaos scrolls litter the floor. A spilled jug of wine bleeds red and the philosopher's smirk falters. The scribe's laughter spikes raw and ragged as he clutches his chest, swaying like a reed in a gale. You're pulled in heart, thumping the stone benches rough under your palms. Ancient Greeks knew laughter could kill Diogenes Laertius. Noted it could crush a heart, a grim fact in a world of flimsy medicine. You smell the scribe's stale breath, see his trembling hands and know he's done. This isn't Chrysippus's donkey-fueled giggle, it's a scholar's joy sparked by a paradox's roast turning fatal. You smirk uneasy, picture this on ex-scribe laughs to death at Zeno takedown. Philosophy fails. Imagine it, the philosopher pauses, his quip hanging, as the scribe collapses his laughter a dying rasp. The crowd hushes, some backing away, others gawking like it's a grim symposium. You're immersed, the torchlight flickering like a warning, the air heavy with panic. Hellenistic Athens thrived on these debates. Think tanks where egos clashed, but this one's turned deadly, a paradox proving mortal. The scribe's fall echoes others, Zeuxis the weaver, all snared by mirth's trap. Sarcasm bites nice roast pal, you just argued someone to death. The gods must be chuckling, scripting this end for a man who lived by words. You glance at the philosopher, his eyes wide, probably rethinking his next debate. The scene lingers. Wine stains the floor, torches gutter, and the crowd's murmurs turn nervous. You feel the hall's pulse, its intellectual fire tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark here, but it burns out fast in these marble arenas. You shake your head, half laughing. Life's a debate, and sometimes the punchline's final. Drop your creepiest history fact below, and let's slip from this hall to a festival where a jester's act turns deadly. You're swept into an Athenian festival, 3rd century BCE, where torchlight dances and the air hums with wine-roasted meat and reckless joy. A jester all bells and tattered cloak capers through the crowd, his absurd act mimicking a drunken god with exaggerated stumbles hitting like a TikTok prank gone wild. The crowd howls, but one reveller, wiry baker, laughs hardest, his bellows shaking the night. You're caught in the chaos, the heat of bodies pressing the scent of charred bread and spilled wine thick. His laughter turns raw, a choking wheeze that cuts through the flute's trill, his face purpling, hands clutching his sides. You feel a knot of dread. This isn't just a laugh, it's a one-way trip to the underworld. The festival's a riot, torches spit sparks, dancers swirl, a stray dog snatches a bone. The baker's laughter spikes, desperate and ragged, as he stumbles against a cart, eyes wild with joy and panic. You're pulled in, heart racing, the cobblestones slick underfoot. Ancient texts, like Diogenes Laertius's worn laughter, could stop a heart, a truth as real as the dust in your throat. You smell the baker's flour-dusted tunic, see his trembling hands, and know he's done. This is no philosopher's end. It's a commoner's sparked by a jester's antics. You smirk despite the chill. Imagine this trending baker laughs to death at jester's god act. Festival fiasco. Picture it. The jester freezes his bells, jingling eerily as the baker collapses, his laughter a fading echo. The crowd hushes their cheers, dying as the night's energy sours. You're immersed, the torchlight flickering like a warning, the air thick with panic. Hellenistic festivals were Athens' pulse. Dionysian revels uniting all, but this one's turned grim, a jest turned funeral. The baker's fall mirrors others, Chrysippus the scribe all caught by mirth's hook. Sarcasm bites great act jester, your stumbles a body count. The gods must love this chuckling as another mortal oversteps. You glance at the jester, his painted grin fading, probably rethinking his next pratfall. The scene fades. torches gutter, the crowd mutters and the flutes falter. You feel the festival's pulse, its joy tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a flame, but in these streets it burns out fast. You shake your head half chuckling. Life's a revel and sometimes the dance ends too soon. Share your darkest history fact below and let's move from this torchlit chaos to another tale of laughter's deadly grip. You're crammed into a dingy Athenian tavern 3rd century BCE, where the air's thick with sour wine smoke and the stench of unwashed tunics. A storyteller, all wild gestures and gap-toothed grin, spins an absurd yarn about a farmer outwitted by his own goat, his voice cutting through the din of clinking cups and drunken shouts. The crowd roars, but one tavern-goer, a grizzled blacksmith, laughs loudest, his bellows shaking the rickety tables. You're caught in the haze, the reek of spilled wine and charred meat stinging your nose as his laughter turns wild, a hacking wheeze that drowns the storyteller's punchline. His face flushes, purple eyes streaming, and you feel a prickle of dread. This isn't just a chuckle, it's a one-way trip to Hades. The tavern's a grimy stage, flickering oil lamps cast shadows like mocking ghosts, a spilled jug of wine pools on the floor. The blacksmith's laughter spikes raw and ragged as he slams his fist on the table, swaying like a ship in a squall. You're pulled in heart, thumping the sticky floor, gripping your sandals. Ancient Greeks knew mirth could kill Diogenes Laertius. Noted laughter could crush a heart, a grim fact in a world of guesswork medicine. You smell the blacksmith's sweat, see his hands claw the air, and know he's done. This isn't Chrysippus's philosophical giggle. It's a working man's joy sparked by a goat's antics. You smirk uneasy picture this, Onek. Blacksmith laughs to death at goat tail. Tavern takedown. Imagine it, the storyteller pauses his grin, faltering as the blacksmith collapses his laughter a dying rasp. The crowd hushes their chuckles, fading as mugs clatter and a dog yowls in the corner. You're immersed, the tavern's heat pressing like a curse, the air thick with panic. Hellenistic taverns were Athens' underbelly, dens of tales and cheap wine, but this one's turned grim, a story turned funeral. The blacksmith's fall echoes other Zeuxis the baker, all snared by mirth's trap. Sarcasm bites great yarn, pal. You've got a body count now. The gods must be chuckling, scripting this end for a man who just wanted a laugh. You glance at the storyteller, his eyes wide, probably rethinking his next tale. The scene lingers. Lamp flames, gutter wine stains the floor, and the crowd's murmurs turn nervous. You feel the tavern's pulse, its rowdy joy tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark, but in this dive it's a flame that burns out fast. You shake your head half laughing. Life's a story, and sometimes the ending's too sharp. Drop your creepiest history fact below and let's slip from this smoky tavern to an agora where a merchant's laugh turns deadly. You're in the bustling Athenian agora 3rd century BCE, where dust swirls like gossip and the air reeks of olives, fish and ambition. A merchant all swagger and oiled beard mocks a rival's botched trade, a deal for rancid wine sold as vintage, exposed by a crowd's jeers. His laughter loud and biting lands like a viral roast, and the agora buzzes with chuckles. But one onlooker, a wiry spice trader, laughs hardest, his cackle rising above the vendor's shouts. You're caught in the chaos. The grit of the market underfoot as his laughter turns wild, a choking wheeze that cuts through the din. His face purples, hands clutching his sides, and you feel a knot of dread. This isn't just a laugh, it's a death knell. The agora's a gritty stage. Baskets of figs teeter, a cartwheel creaks, and the rival merchant's face burns with shame. The spice trader's laughter spikes raw and desperate as he stumbles against a stall, eyes wild with joy and panic. You're pulled in, heart racing, the tang of spices sharp in your throat. Ancient texts like Diogenes Laertius's worn laughter could stop a heart, a truth as real as the dust on your sandals. You smell the trader's saffron-stained cloak, see his trembling hands and know he's done. This is no philosopher's end. It's a market man sparked by a rival's flop. You smirk despite the chill. Imagine this trending spice trader laughs to death at bad wine deal. #Agora burn. Picture it. The mocking merchant pauses his grin, fading as the spice trader collapses his laughter a fading echo. The crowd hushes their chuckles, dying as stalls shake and a stray dog barks. You're immersed the agora's heat, pressing like a vice, the air thick with panic. Hellenistic markets were Athens' heartbeat, trade taunts and triumphs, but this one's turned grim, a jest turned funeral. The trader's fall mirrors others' Chrysippus, the blacksmith, all caught by mirth's hook. Sarcasm bites nice zinger, pal. You traded laughs for a corpse. The gods must love this chuckling as another mortal oversteps. You glance at the merchant, his eyes darting, probably rethinking his next barb. The scene fades. Dust settles, vendors resume shouting, and the crowd's murmurs turn uneasy. You feel the agora's pulse, its lively chaos tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark, but in this market it's a flame that burns out fast. You shake your head half chuckling. Life's a deal, and sometimes the price is too steep. Share your darkest history fact below, and let's move from this dusty agora to another tale of laughter's deadly grip. You're in a Hellenistic workshop, 3rd century BCE Athens, where dust motes dance in slanted sunlight, and the air smells of chiselled stone and sweat. A sculptor, burly and dusted with marble grit, stands before his latest work, a comically exaggerated statue of a satyr, his grin all teeth and mischief. He steps back, chisel in hand, and laughs a deep, booming guffaw that shakes the workshop's clutter. You're caught in the scene, the tang of stone dust stinging your nose as his laughter grows wild, a roaring wheeze that echoes off the walls. His face flushes, red eyes streaming, and you feel a prickle of dread. This isn't just a chuckle, it's a one-way trip to Hades. The workshop's a chaotic shrine, chisels clatter, half-carved statues loom like silent judges, and a stray hammer rolls across the floor. The sculptor's laughter spikes raw and ragged as he points at the satyr's grotesque leer, his creation mocking him back. Your pulled-in heart thumping the gritty air coating your throat. Ancient Greeks knew mirth could kill Diogenes Laertius. Noted laughter could crush a heart of grim truth in a world of crude medicine. You smell the sculptor's sweat, see his hands tremble and know he's done. This isn't Chrysippus's philosophical giggle. It's an artist's joy sparked by his own absurd muse. You smirk uneasy, picture this on X, sculptor. Laughs to death at his own statue. #art kills. Imagine it, the sculptor stumbles his chisel clattering as he collapses his laughter a dying rasp. The workshop falls silent, save for the distant hum of Athens' agora. You're immersed, the sunlight dimming like a warning, the air heavy with dust and panic. Hellenistic Athens revered its artists. Sculptors shaped gods and heroes, but this one's creation has turned fatal, a marble jest gone wrong. His fall echoes others, Zeuxis the spice trader, all snared by mirth's trap. Sarcasm bites nice statue, pal. You carved your own tombstone. The gods must be chuckling, scripting this end, for a man who dared laugh at his own genius. You glance at the satyr, its grin seeming to widen, as if it planned this all along. The scene lingers. Dust settles, tools lie still, and the statue stands a silent victor. You feel the workshop's pulse, its creative fire tainted by death's shadow. Laughter's a spark, but in this stone-strewn space it's a flame that burns out fast. You shake your head half laughing. Life's a chisel, and sometimes it cuts too deep. Drop your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this dusty workshop to a final reflection on laughter's curse. You stand in a shadowed Athenian temple, 3rd century BCE, where incense curls like ghosts and the air hums with the weight of forgotten laughter. The marble altar gleams stained with offerings as you reflect on the trail of bodies felled by mirth, Chrysippus undone by a drunken donkey, Zeuxis killed by his painted hag, the sculptor crushed by his satyr's grin. You're alone now. The city's buzz distant and the silence feels heavy, as if the gods themselves are holding their breath. Laughter that sparks of joy has proven a curse, a blade hidden in every chuckle. You feel it, the chill of stone underfoot, and wonder is joy a gift or a trap. The Greeks knew the answer, Diogenes Laertius wrote. Of hearts stopped by mirth, a truth as cold as this temple's gloom. The sanctuary whispers of the fallen, the tanner's agora cackle, the baker's festival, roar the scribe's debate-ending laugh. You're immersed, the incense stinging your eyes as memories of their gasps echo like a grim chorus. Hellenistic Athens thrived on laughter symposiums, theatres, docks, but each giggle carried a risk, a divine jest waiting to strike. You see their faces red and straining joy twisting into dread. Sarcasm creeps in great job mortals. Laugh like there's no tomorrow and there won't be. The gods must love this scripting ends for philosophers and commoners alike, their humour sharper than any mortal's wit. You glance at the altar, its shadows dancing as if mocking your thoughts. Picture it, the temple's silence deepens. Torches flicker like dying stars, and you feel the weight of every laugh that turned fatal. You're drawn in heart, thumping as if Hades watches tallying souls claimed by joy. Ancient Greeks saw laughter as a double-edged blade binding communities yet breaking bodies. Chrysippus preached control yet fell to a donkey's antics. The sculptor-shaped beauty only to choke on it. You think of modern parallels, a viral meme that hits too hard a joke that goes too far. Laughter's a thread weaving Athens' streets, but it's also a noose. You smirk half-nervous life's a cosmic prank, and sometimes you're the punchline. The scene fades. Incense curls, the altar looms, and Athens hums beyond these walls. You feel the city's pulse its joy forever shadowed by these tales. Laughter's a flame burning bright but deadly, a lesson carved in every fallen fool. You shake your head, a faint chuckle escaping. Humanity laughs, defying fate, but fate laughs last. Share your darkest history fact below, and let's leave this temple for a new tale of death's strange whims. You're standing in an open field outside Athens, 5th century BCE, the sun blazing dust swirling like a bad omen. Aeschylus, the grizzled playwright, paces nearby, his bald head glinting like a beacon. He's here to dodge a prophecy. Some oracle warned he'd die under a falling object, so he's ditched the city's roofs for open sky. You feel the heat, the dry grass pricking your sandals when a shadow flickers above. An eagle soars, talons clutching a turtle, and you squint, heart skipping as it releases its prize. The turtle plummets, a dark blur, and crack strikes Aeschylus' skull, blood spraying like spilled wine. You freeze, the sickening thud echoing as his body crumples. This isn't just bad luck, it's fate's sick punchline. The field's a stark stage. Cicadas drone, a distant cart rattles, and the eagle wheels away indifferent. You're pulled in, the metallic tang of blood hitting your nose as Aeschylus lies still, his tragedy days done. Ancient sources, Valerius Maximus, Pliny, say eagles drop turtles to crack their shells, mistaking shiny heads for rocks. You see it now, the turtle's shattered shell, Aeschylus' shattered skull, a grim tableau of irony. You smirk despite the horror picture this on ex-playwright killed by turtle drone strike. Fate wins. Hellenistic Athens buzzed with omens. But this, it's the gods trolling a man who wrote their dramas. The scene burns. Dust settles, blood pools, and the turtle's corpse lies like a mocking prop. You feel the field's vastness, its silence heavy with divine laughter. Aeschylus thought he'd outsmart fate, but the sky itself betrayed him. Sarcasm bites niece dodge pal, swapped a roof for a reptile. Life's a script, and sometimes the gods rewrite the ending. Drop your creepiest history fact below, and let's move from this bloody field to the oracle's cruel jest. You're in a shadowed Athenian temple, 5th century BCE, where incense coils like fate's whispers and torchlight flickers on marble. Aeschylus, the playwright, stands before a veiled oracle, his face lined with dread. She mutters a prophecy, death will come from the sky's fall. You're caught in the gloom, the air thick with myrrh and fear as Aeschylus scoffs, his voice sharp, vowing to avoid roofs and stay under open skies. You feel a chill, the stone floor cold underfoot as his defiance echoes. He thinks he's outsmarted the gods, but you sense the trap, the oracle's lips twitching like she knows the punchline. This isn't just a warning, it's a divine setup. The temple hums, braziers spit embers, priests chant softly, and the oracle's eyes glint like dark stars. You're pulled in heart, thumping as Aeschylus strides out, determined to cheat fate. Ancient Greeks lived by oracles. Delphi's cryptic words shaped wars and lives, but Aeschylus' plan feels like a gamble. You smell the incense heavy as guilt and hear the prophecies echo, a taunt from the gods. Sarcasm bites, great plan pal, dodge the roof, catch a turtle. You imagine this trending playwright bets against Oracle loses big. Cosmic prank. His tragedies thrilled Athens, but this real-life drama's about to outshine them. The scene lingers, torches dim, the Oracle's veil sways, and you feel fate's weight. Aeschylus's defiance, Boldas's plays his doom.